So, a recent court decision in my own Kentucky home decreed that the Defense of Marriage Act, the statewide ban on gay marriage, is invalid based on a Supreme Court decision that deals with discrimination and saying that people can't be discriminated against. Yes, and are you thinking civil rights? No, I'm talking about the recent decision by the courts that not acknowledging different kinds of marriages in different states does amount to discrimination. Either you accept everybody's marriage or you don't. It's something that I happen to agree with because it's based on the idea that, well, let's just take it in Kentucky terms. So I'm from Kentucky, and I could be in a gay marriage to someone that's recognized in any other state or country, and yet when I come to my own Kentucky home, the state doesn't recognize my marriage, but my neighbor who is heterosexual has come from India or has come from Nigeria, has come from Botswana, and they're married in India or Nigeria or Botswana. The Commonwealth of Kentucky readily accepts their marriages, regardless of what religion they are, perhaps even how old they were when they got married to some extent. So it's ironic that other kinds of marriages are recognized, and yet the focus is so much on this one. I'll get back to that. So, given that they have this, new decree, I do keep asking myself, why does it matter to me? Why does gay marriage in Kentucky matter to me? I'm happily married, going on 11 years. I work, I have a house, I don't have a pet yet, I don't have kids. I'm educated, close to my family, good at my job. I'm generally a happy guy. I don't want for anything in life. I try and help people. All those things that many people might claim as tenets of their own faiths. So, and I don't live in Kentucky. Most importantly, that's what this comes down to. I don't live in Kentucky. And as a matter of fact, I live in Europe. As a matter of fact, I was married in Europe. And as a matter of fact, I live in a different part of Europe that equally recognizes my marriage. And when I'm greeted at the borders, there are no questions asked. And people say, "Where's your partner?" "Oh, there's my partner. Welcome to the UK. Welcome to Germany. Welcome to, wherever." And that's not how I'm greeted in my old Kentucky home. In fact, I even tried it once. My partner and I tried to enter the border when we flew back home to visit my old Kentucky home. And the border agent said, "No, who is he?" "Well, he can't come to the line with you. He's got to go all the way back to the foreigners line." I wrote to my senator. He wrote back and apologized, said he'd investigated, but still didn't want to change his stance on gay marriage. So I still ask myself, why does it matter to me? I don't go to America that much. Why should I care? How does it touch me? And then I wonder if this is the same question that anti-gay proponents are also asking themselves when they say that gay marriage assaults the traditional marriage. Because for me, given my distance from how DOMA impacts me directly, I'm impacted. It worries me that I have rights that the next man doesn't. It concerns me. It doesn't destabilize my marriage that those people have or don't have rights. I mean, it actually makes me work towards strengthening my marriage, knowing that this is something that's quite preserved for in our culture, and that I would want to spread it, and that I would want more people to have the opportunity to experience marriage if they're so inclined. Marriage was always something that I grew up wanting, and I knew that I would eventually be married to someone. So I grew up and I found a partner and I married someone, like millions of people every day on planet Earth. And the idea that I would deny that that I would even spend any of my time thinking about, talking about, acting upon, voting upon, writing legislation upon, taking that from someone else, it seems so foreign to the idea of what marriage means to me. And I'm in, going on 12 years, 11 plus years in marriage. So I really do wonder how other people are questioning themselves when they say that gay marriage threatens their marriage. I'll get back to that too. I just wanted to put that out there because, we do need to investigate why are we even talking about this? Like, why are we, you, me, any of us talking about, but also importantly, spreading ideas, impacting people's rights with these things. So if you're not gay, if you don't know anyone who's gay, what do you ask yourself about gay people, about gay marriage in particular, since we're talking about enacting legislation that upon gay people defining who they are, and it's something that needs to be talked about. And so I did such an investigation, and I looked on Kentucky, my old Kentucky home in educational television, KET, and there was the leader of the Fairness Campaign on a panel discussing gay marriage in Kentucky. This is last year. No, this was in the Romney Obama campaign. So well before even what we're talking about now. And so they predicted that things would never change, and look how quickly they have. And so the Reverend Herschel, who I've heard speak out before against, the Southern Baptist Ministry, theological institution, has spoken out against gay marriage and talks about this traditionalist view based on what he considers this the supreme law of it, the Bible. And so he never addresses, well, what about non-Christians? First of all, in a pluralistic society, what about non-Christians, and what about the rights of non-Christians? Never touches the subject. That's a red flag for a thinking person. But the second part of it is, how much time is spent on defending marriage as opposed to building marriage? Let's look at marriage. I say that I'm in a happy, healthy marriage, but we all know that marriage as an institution has been in long decay. It probably was in decay since the day it was born out of its capitalist roots, and that it was infused with, heavily patriarchal ideas all over the world. And so we look at control of women in parts of the world where women are demanded to be covered, but we are not very far from the idea of marriage being a patriarchal institution. It's not free of patriarchy. And so if marriage is not free of patriarchy, and in fact, if people think marriage is a way to affirm patriarchy, then it fundamentally conflicts with our modern values. Because patriarchy says that the sexes are not equal, that there is an inherent difference. It makes us stand on a hierarchy by birth, and that's the core of what people often don't talk about. But that's the core of their adherence to gayness, is that we want to disturb that patriarchal hierarchy. So it has nothing to do with one's beliefs in Christianity, but one's beliefs in patriarchy. And that it plays out through the rhetoric of Christianity, or through the rhetoric of Islam, or through the rhetoric of, nativist, Africanist, kind of ideas. It's wedging oneself to patriarchy. And our very presence as gay people evokes that in people. It provokes strong feelings in people about their relationship to patriarchy. Oftentimes, we are forced to deal with people projecting onto us their fears about patriarchy, their failures in patriarchy. No worse homophobe than than an emasculated man. One who has to defend his masculine territory. No worse homophobe It's the ones who are comfortable with themselves who are like, you know what, be gay, be who you are. But it's those who are on those bounds, who are themselves feeling threatened and marginalized, who then run to the defense. And that's really what we're seeing in Nigeria today, in Uganda today, in Kentucky today, where people are, lining up with crosses to say, we're anti-fairness, because the Fairness Campaign is a local campaign that fights for gay rights. We're anti-fairness. And that itself, the notion anti-fair of Christians saying anti-fairness itself, just ignores the life of Christ and only focuses on his death, as if when he died for me, he was so important that Christ literally just sat down and said, "I'm gonna die for your ass." No, there is such a thing as us, and I think that from what I understand of his teachings, it is embracing a wider notion of an us, a communal, communion, of a communal, that really is what Christ's lessons were to us. And so to cut those edges narrower and narrower around something as silly as marriage, when there's something, as significant as patriarchy and violence threatening traditional marriage on the other side, it would seem that it just seems a silly notion to defend an institution that itself has been under attack from feminism. If you want to look at it as patriarchal marriage being under attack, marriage itself can mean something very different. And I think feminism has greatly enriched and added to our understanding of what marriage could and should be, the potentialities. So can gayness. But when you cut off an entire segment of society, just as more rigid patriarchy did in the past, you cut us off from our creativity, from our humanness. I think that we would all agree that the relative advances of feminism have really brought us closer to our humanness. And so, yeah, in the wake of all those advances, we are seeing a greater acceptance of gay people in popular culture. We are seeing younger people who just aren't bothered by the presence of gay people, and even some of them who are able to articulate the benefits of diversity and what it even signifies for their own freedom. So, when you start talking about you can't have what I have, probably what you have is not that great. If you're spending so much time looking at, me and pointing fingers at me, you need to go check and look at the man in the mirror. And that's most of what I see when I see conservative Christian rhetoric, and why it's so painful to hear this in Nigeria and Uganda, especially because they just passed laws the past 2 months banning gay assembly, a very uniquely African way of banning gayness, not just marriage. They didn't focus on that at all. They focused on just get together, that you can't commune. It's ridiculous, and using lessons of prophets to do that is an affront to all our humanity. And I do think that it is incumbent upon all of us to stand up, to embrace those gay and lesbian people close to us, to question our own ethics around what it means to be free, to experience freedom when the person just next door to you is oppressed. When your cousin is, your sister is, your auntie is oppressed. How free are we just knowing that? And how does just knowing that impact what we do? And what I see those people doing who feel under threat, and they base their response on fear, I see them shrinking. When I see people who face that threat based on love, based on genuine prayer for the expansion of their own humanity, I see that there's room enough for all of us at the table. Amina.